All right, there's several videos out about different ways to clean and whiten and process animal skulls. Just want to make a kind of a quick video on the main technique that I use. I've used a few different ones over the years, but normally what I do is after I ethically harvest an animal, I'll just put the skull in a bucket of water and leave it set out in the sun for a couple months using the maceration technique. Now these buckets here don't have fresh skulls in it because the smell becomes overwhelming. So you want to put those out in the yard as far away from the house as you can. But I have ran into issues with that because the bears, if you have bears in your area, they'll come in the yard and knock your buckets over and drag away a few of your skulls and stuff like that. So I'm trying a different technique with burying some skulls. I have a few buried right now that have been in the ground for about a month, so I'll probably make another video and let you know how that turned out. But normally I just put them in a bucket, and about every 3 weeks or so I'll change out the water, and it's a nasty process with a pretty horrible smell. But once most of the flesh, meat, brain, eyes, tongue is off of the skull, then I can bring him into the garage because most of that odor is gone. And then I'll just put them in separate little containers, and then I put in dish soap, just Dawn soap or whatever cheap dish soap you can get from the dollar store or whatever. Just squirt a bunch in there and then soak them in water. And I change out the water on these probably about every week, maybe every 5 to 7 days, something like that. And then after they've done that for a few weeks, then I start moving into just peroxide, just plain, not the heavy duty stuff, but what is that, 3%? I think it's 3%. Just costs about $1 or less at Walmart or dollar store. And so these ones here are getting close to being finished. Just put some fresh soap water in there. And this one here I'm going to fill up with peroxide. So again, I'll leave them sitting there about 4 days, and then I'll put it into another soap bath, depending on if they need it. If they're good after that first peroxide dip, then I just rinse them off and let them dry. Otherwise, we put them in soap again. And again, that might be good enough. If not, they get another peroxide dip for another 3 to 5 days. So normally after 1 or 2 peroxide baths, they're good. But sometimes I'll do 3 actually. Then once we pull them out, I just pulled these out today. And I normally use one of these lids from a tote just to kind of keep them separated. These are all beaver here, so we have 5 beaver skulls. And I try to keep them separated a little bit so I can match up the correct jaw bones with the correct skull so that we don't have any mismatch stuff. Most of the time the teeth stay in the beaver, but like this guy here, you can see most of them came out, so just try to save your teeth as well. Put those back in, but the jaw bones have to be glued back together, and then the teeth have to be glued in. And then I normally glue the top of the skull onto the jawbone, but not always. So here's some that have been glued together. So they're nice and clean, and the dish soap helps to degrease them, get all the oil and stuff out of all the pores. But one thing I don't do, and a lot of people might recommend it, and people who are novices might try boiling the skull or using bleach. And I would discourage both of those techniques because if you boil them, you're gonna lose all of the small little bones in the nose there, the turbinates, and it'll make the bones more brittle, and bleach will just it'll make them nice and white, but it will really degrade the integrity of the bone, and it'll start to chip and flake away after a pretty short time. So I don't boil them, and I don't use bleach. I have used Dermestid beetles, which work really well, but I had to do that outside because the smell was pretty powerful. And then once it got to be winter, I just set them free because I wasn't going to bring them into the garage with that horrible smell. But I did use them for one season, and they do work well if you have a place to keep them where it's not going to freeze, not get too hot or get too cold. And again, that smell is pretty powerful. So if I was going to sell these skulls just plain white, then I would put them in peroxide for at least another week to make them completely white. You can still see little grayish, brownish spots and stuff like that. They're completely clean, but they're just not as white as I would like them if I was selling them like that. But I almost always paint the skulls, and there's a lot of different ways you can decorate them. People use different mediums, and they'll use crystals and crap like that. I normally just use a gloss black paint as a base, no matter what I'm going to put on over the top of that. This is an Otter here with use some color shifting paint. And it's pretty cool. But I have a lot of beaver skulls. The coyotes are pretty popular. I've got 2 right there and a couple more in the buckets. But some of the other ones here, little muskrat. This is actually a skunk skull. Again, that's got some color shifting paint on that. I like gluing them with the mouth slightly open, and then I can paint the teeth silver. So most of the time, though, what I just do is a gloss black, and then paint the teeth a metallic silver. So there's another Otter, and this is a marten, closely related to a mink. They're in the same family as the skunk and weasel. Otter in the same family, so they have similar bone structures and similar teeth. And this is another member of that same family. This is a fisher. All right, so that's just that's how I do it. I know a lot of guys have different techniques, and I've tried a lot of different variations, but for me, I'm not in a hurry. It is a long process. It takes months the way I do it, but I'm not in a big hurry. But my really cool skulls that I got up in Alaska last fall, wolf, wolverine, lynx, and I found a grizzly bear skull. Those are all buried out in the yard, so I'll probably leave those at least 2 months, maybe 3 months, and I'll try to video that to see how it turns out. All right, if you have any questions or comments, put them below and I'll try to get to them. Thanks for watching.